eating raw broccoli. At times there are strands in there you can't quite break down. The raw broccoli, where it's at, man. Aside from that piece right there that I cannot digest. Um, yeah. If you don't know what album this is, then you probably don't listen to all that much metal. Because I'm doing a more mainstream album this time. Opeth's My Arms, Your Hearse. This is most likely, though it has a contender, this is most likely, let me fix my hair to make myself beautiful. This is most likely it's hopeless. This is most likely my favorite album, though as I said, it has a contender. My Arms, Your Hearse. Right here, relatively simple gatefold here. It's got, what does this have here? Basically it just talks about the band and the instrumentation. And on this side it has all the lyrics. On the back right here, ghostly figure. And what's interesting about this album cover is that, I don't know, maybe it's obvious immediately to you guys, but for the longest time I did not see this figure here. That's a cloaked, hooded figure looking back at you. And the first time my brother saw it, he mentioned it immediately. My younger brother. But I never noticed that, and it is just incredible to me. I don't know why. It's perfect. It's perfect for the album. Because the storyline, I may get this slightly wrong, but it's a concept album, and it's about a ghost who dies, and he's essentially a ghost, so he's haunting the area, and he sees how people interact and live after he's gone, or something. I may have butchered that, but it is about a ghost. And that is a very ghostly, haunting figure there. And it sets the vibe. It's perfect to sort of gaze at whilst listening. And so basically, I first got into Opeth, and I want to do this. I probably should have done this review first, and I may go ahead and do that and post it along with this one. But the first listen that I had of Opeth was Watershed. Went back over to a friend's house and we hung out, and he burned me a couple CDs, some Coroner, and No More Color, the album No More Color by Coroner, and some death metal band. I can't remember the name of them, but more of an underground metal band. And then he burned me, Opeth, the Watershed album, and I, popped into my car. I'd listened to a little bit of Opeth before, and I was like, alright, death metal and quietness, and then death metal, and I wasn't into death metal at that point in time. I hated the vocals. I couldn't get past the vocals. And so I was a thrash guy at that point. I liked the yelling, not the growling and roaring. And so I popped it in, and I was driving back home, and it starts out, I'm starting to do a review for the wrong album here. Anyway, so I listened to it, and I'll get into that later. But it blew me away. It was completely, just so creative and different from anything I'd heard before in the metal genre that I was taken by it. I was in love. And so I went to this friend's house, and he gave me pretty much all their albums. And I listened through, and I latched on to some of the, more mainstream albums at first. I didn't really pay attention to the previous ones, the earlier. But as with many bands, I've found, at first you get into their mainstream stuff a little bit more. Or in my case, not necessarily the mainstream stuff, but the first thing that you hear. The later stuff. And then you sort of start backtracking. And after a while, you find that early stuff is masterful. And that's the case with Opeth, I think. Especially this album. I feel that Orchid was amazing. You know, a real progression for metal genre in general. Not Watershed. Morning Rise. Morning Rise was great. I feel like I really like Morning Rise. At first, I disliked it, but I really like Morning Rise. But it's got some weaknesses in it. But then they combined that along with further progression, and they came out with this album. And this album, it's not overproduced like the later Opeth albums. A lot of that I feel is overproduced, especially Blackwater Park and things like that. Those albums, just too much production, too much clean stuff with the effects and the voice effects and stuff like that, and keyboards or whatever else. Just you know, like synth stuff, effect stuff. This is very real, very organic sound, and it's got such energy and passion and storytelling. I mean, you hear a story, regardless of whether or not you can understand what he's saying or you know the story behind it. You hear a story, you know it's there, and the acoustic guitar meshes with the electric perfectly, and they're seamlessly drifting in and out of one another. I do this a lot when I'm talking about stuff that works, but it's just seamless progression and transition is the word I'm looking for. Transition between the clean vocals and the acoustic guitars, and then the growled vocals and the electric, and then the clean and the electric, and the acoustic and the electric, and the distortion with the acoustic, and it's just creativity. It's real. It's very real, and I can feel it. And I feel like they put a lot into this album. It wasn't just a jam anymore. This was true composition. And with the previous albums, I felt that they more or less just put riffs together and jammed a little bit and had fun, and it's good. I love that. But with this album, I feel like they stepped up. And as you can hear, each song fades into the next, and you get a sense of a next stage within the story. The thing is, they're so heavy and so metal, but it's lacking in that metal virtuosity where it's just they're either shredding for no reason, just for the hell of it, or they're just being as loud and angry as they can. It's all for a purpose. It's all the dynamics. That's another thing I forgot to talk about. The dynamics are beautiful, just beautiful on this album. Just the quiet, and you get just everything about this. I wouldn't change a thing. I love this album. Sorry, I'm talking with my little. I love this album. It's a great thing. I'm running close to 10 minutes here, or 9 minutes, or whatever. It's a long video, but just well put together. And I hate to use, the sort of cliche term, but memorable riffs, essentially. For the lack of a better term. Very memorable riffs. So check it out if you haven't already, and utilize your active listening skills and try to see what they're doing. It's good stuff. Alright, I'm going to review the other album now.